Most people work hard their entire lives, yet remain trapped in mediocrity. They follow rules written to keep them poor, while the wealthy follow a different playbook, one hidden from public eyes. Today, you will discover the 7 psychological and strategic secrets billionaires use to build wealth quickly and easily, and why ignoring them will keep principles of power remain unchanged. Money is power, and power belongs to those who understand human nature, timing, and manipulation. Let me show you the map the elite follow, not the one given to the masses, but the one they use to rise above them. Power begins with perception, and wealth is no different. The first thing the wealthy understand, something the common man rarely grasps, is that the value of anything is not determined solely by what it is, but by how rare it seems to be. This is the law of scarcity. It is the reason why people line up for hours to buy something they do not truly need. It is why a simple piece of cloth, stitched with the right symbol, sells for the price of a month's labor. The rich do not just sell a product, they sell the idea that the world is running out of it. In my time, noble families in Florence would hoard grain in years of abundance, waiting for the lean years to arrive. Then, when famine struck, they would release their stores, not all at once, but in carefully measured portions. The masses, desperate and fearful, would bid higher and higher just to survive. You must understand this wealth is built when people feel they have no choice but to pay, and scarcity, whether real or manufactured, creates that urgency. The modern billionaire uses the same principle. They never flood the market with their product, even if they could. Instead, they release it in limited quantities, giving it an air of exclusivity. A rare watch, a limited edition car, a private membership. These are not merely goods, they are signals of status. And status, my friend, is a currency stronger than gold. People will fight for the privilege of being seen with something others cannot have. This is why scarcity is not just an economic tactic, it is psychological warfare. Scarcity does not mean actual shortage. The wise know that you can have an entire warehouse filled with your product and still make the world believe it is almost gone. This is why sales close with the words, "only 3 left." This is why high-end brands release new items slowly, in controlled waves, rather than all at once. Scarcity is an illusion carefully maintained, and illusions, when believed, create reality. Billionaires understand that humans are driven by 2 powerful forces, the fear of loss and the desire for status. Scarcity triggers both. It whispers in the mind, if I do not take this now, it will be gone forever. It provokes competition, making people spend more, decide faster, and commit deeper than they would if they felt abundance. This is why limited access communities, from elite investment clubs to exclusive social networks, become breeding grounds for wealth. People will pay, sometimes obscene amounts, just to be included in the circle they fear missing out on. In the political world, I saw scarcity applied to influence itself. Rulers did not make themselves available to everyone at all times. Their presence was rare, their words few, their audience limited. This made their favor more valuable. The same works in business. The more selective you appear, the more the market believes you are worth pursuing. The poor man believes that being always available will bring opportunity. The wealthy know that availability kills value. Observe how billionaires handle their own personal brand. They do not appear everywhere, nor do they speak to everyone. Their interviews are rare, their public appearances controlled, their endorsements selective. They are not overexposed. And because of that, every move they make becomes an event. Their scarcity makes them magnetic. It is not just their products that are rare, it is they themselves who are rare. To master the illusion of scarcity, you must first strip away the thinking of the laborer who believes that more work, more hours, and more production will bring more wealth. This is the thinking of the factory, not the throne. The rich understand that by holding back, by delaying, by controlling release, they can create a hunger far more profitable than constant supply. And so they measure not just their goods, but the access to their time, their ideas, and their power. The world, denied what it wants, will pay anything when finally offered a taster. A wise ruler never fortifies his realm with a single wall, for if the enemy breaches it, the city is lost. Wealth follows the same law. The man who depends on one source of income is a soldier armed with only one weapon. When it breaks, so does he. The rich are not merely collectors of coins, they are generals, commanding multiple divisions, each one guarding the other, each one capable of striking on its own. In Florence, I saw merchants who built their fortunes on a single trade route, perhaps the Silk Road to the east or the spice lanes to the Indies, and I saw them ruined when storms sank their ships or wars closed the ports. They wept as their wealth vanished in days. But the shrewd merchant, he was never bound to one road. He had ships in many harbors, goods in many markets, investments in many hands. If one trade collapsed, another grew stronger. The loss of a single stream was a mere inconvenience, not a catastrophe. Billionaires treat income streams as fortifications. One business may feed another, an investment may shield a company. A venture may open the gates for an entirely different industry. Consider how modern tycoons operate. The man who sells technology also invests in real estate, owns media platforms, and holds stakes in dozens of ventures you will never hear about. The public knows him for one empire, but in truth, he has many. If one falls, the others stand. The masses think of income as a single source, their job. They give one master the power to feed them, forgetting that the one who feeds you can starve you. This is why the rich escape dependence. They do not serve a master, they become their own, multiplying their revenue until no single hand holds their fate. Every new stream is a shield against misfortune and a sword for expansion. You must also understand that these streams are not random. The wealthy build them like a general builds his army. Each soldier has a role, each regiment supports the others. A billionaire will not simply open a new business because the idea is fashionable. He creates a structure where one income source reinforces the next. His media platform advertises his products. His investments in infrastructure lower the costs of his companies. His influence in politics shapes the laws that favor his industries. It is not a collection of ventures, it is an interlocking web of power. Some streams are visible, others hidden. The visible ones feed the public image, the glamorous brand, the public company, the foundation that parades generosity. These are meant to inspire admiration and trust. But the hidden streams, these are the quiet rivers of gold that flow through private investments, offshore holdings, and silent partnerships. The public may think they know a man's fortune, but the truth is always greater and far more secure. In my time, great families would place their wealth in land, trade, and banking simultaneously. Land brought stability, trade brought growth, and banking brought influence over princes and kings. If a war destroyed the trade routes, the land still fed them. If the harvest failed, their gold in the banks still lent them power. It is a principle so ancient and so effective that even now, the richest men follow it without question. To multiply income streams is not to scatter one's energy blindly, but to place each piece where it strengthens the whole. Just as a general positions his archers to cover his infantry, the wealthy position their investments to cover their risks. Every stream is another fortress wall. Every fortress wall is another reason why their wealth grows when others crumbles. The poor wait for opportunity to arrive. The rich build multiple gates for opportunity to enter, and they never keep them all in the same place. Gold is valuable, yes, but information is priceless. The man who holds gold can be robbed. The man who holds information can take gold from others without them ever knowing it was stolen. The wealthy understand this truth better than anyone. They do not wait for the world to reveal its secrets. They position themselves where those secrets are born, before they reach the ears of the common man. In my time, the most powerful men in Florence did not sit in public squares waiting for merchants to announce new trade routes. They placed their agents in courts and councils, in taverns and ports, listening for whispers of opportunity. A new alliance between kingdoms. They would know before it was inked. a war brewing in a rival's land. They would know before the first sword was drawn. And because they knew, they could act, buying land before its value tripled, selling goods before taxes were raised, investing in ventures before the crowd even knew they existed. Billionaires today operate the same way. They sit on the boards where industry decisions are made. They have friends in government who hint at new laws. They have analysts who see market trends months before the headlines print them. When the public learns of a great opportunity, it is already too late. The wealthy have taken the largest share before the gates were even opened. The truth is simple: the masses react, the rich anticipate. This is why you must place yourself where information flows freely, but is not yet common knowledge. This may be in the company of innovators, in the inner circles of influential people, or deep within the industries you wish to conquer. When you are the first to know, you can be the first to act. And in wealth, speed often determines the winner. Information is also power because it can be controlled, withheld, and distorted. The shrewd know that you do not always need to own an asset to profit from it. Sometimes, you need only to know what will happen to it. If you learn that a valuable commodity will soon be scarce, you can secure it before the price rises. If you hear of a company about to collapse, you can withdraw your investments before the herd realizes. And if you learn of a shift in politics, you can position your business to benefit from it before the laws change. But the truly powerful do not just receive information. They shape it. The billionaire who owns a media outlet can influence public opinion to favor his industries. The one who funds research can ensure results that serve his ventures. The one who controls data can predict consumer behavior with ruthless precision. They do not merely live in the world as it is. They bend it toward their advantage. Understand also that secrecy is a form of information control. The rich do not reveal their moves until they are completed. By the time the public sees their success, the game is already over. In Florence, the great families would mask their acquisitions under the names of allies, only to reveal their ownership when the moment was right. Today, billionaires use trusts, shell companies, and silent partnerships to move unseen. They understand that a visible fortune is a vulnerable fortune, but an invisible one is untouchable. The masses see only what is placed before them. They read the news after it is printed. They invest after prices have risen. They move after the wealthy have already moved. This is why they are always behind. Information moves faster than gold, and those who can see it coming control not just money, but the very game in which money is made. Before a man can control assets, he must first control the knowledge that determines their value. And before he can control that knowledge, he must be willing to go where others cannot, to hear what others are not meant to hear, and to act before others know there is even a reason to act. In Florence, the merchant princes understood this principle well. A shrewd banker could finance a voyage without ever stepping on the ship, without ever risking his own life or lifting a crate. He would find sailors to risk the seas, captains to chart the course, craftsmen to build the vessel, all paid by money he himself had borrowed from others. If the voyage failed, the loss was shared. If it succeeded, the wealth flowed back to him multiplied. The poor man fears debt because he sees it as a chain. The rich man uses it as a weapon, a lever to move mountains. Billionaires today wield the same weapon, but on a far greater scale. They build companies using capital from investors who believe they are partners. They fund acquisitions with loans that will be repaid by the profits of the business itself, not their personal fortune. They expand their reach using talent they did not pay to train, infrastructure they did not pay to build, and networks they did not create. They understand that ownership is not always necessary for control. Influence can achieve the same outcome, often with less risk. Consider the empire builder who raises money from venture capitalists to launch a company. He retains control while they provide the gold. If the venture thrives, he owns the glory and the lion's share of profit. If it collapses, the loss is theirs as much as his. This is the genius of using other people's resources. You extend your reach without extending your risk. The common man works within his means. The ruler expands beyond them. Resources are not only money. They are time, labor, skills, and even reputations. A billionaire will place his name on a project funded entirely by others, lending only his influence, yet reaping returns as though he had invested heavily. He will persuade governments to build the roads, ports, and laws that serve his business, all paid for by the public. He will form alliances with other empires, each providing a piece of the puzzle, until his vision is complete without him ever having to bear the full cost. The art lies in convincing others that by serving you, they serve themselves. A prince does not need to pay every soldier from his own treasury if he can make them believe the war will benefit their estates. Likewise, a wealthy man does not need to fund every venture if he can make others believe they will share in the spoils. This requires persuasion, vision, and sometimes deception, for men are more willing to give when they believe it was their idea to do so. Observe how the great modern magnates operate. They build platforms that attract millions of creators who produce endless content for free, all while the platform owners collect the wealth. They develop real estate using funds from banks and investors, selling it at a profit before the final brick is laid. They control companies through small ownership stakes, yet their influence over decisions is absolute. In every case, the resources came from many, but the command was held by one. To the outsider, it may seem unfair that one man should grow rich from the labor, money, and risk of others, but fairness has no place in the construction of power. The question is not who works hardest. It is who directs the work, who orchestrates the flow of resources so that every drop ends up in his own reservoir. And so the ruler of wealth learns to see the world not as a collection of obstacles, but as a vast army waiting to be commanded. An army whose swords, shields, and provisions belong to others, but whose victories are all his own. The poor man, when fortune smiles upon him, runs first to the merchant of pleasures. He buys fine clothes, feasts beyond measure, a house larger than he needs, and jewels that glitter but produce nothing. He confuses the appearance of wealth with the machinery that creates it. In doing so, he builds a palace on sand, beautiful to look upon but doomed to sink. The wealthy, however, follow a different order. Before they purchase luxury, they purchase power, for they know that with power, luxury can always be bought again, even if it is lost. In the courts of Florence, I saw young heirs squander entire fortunes in a matter of years. They inherited lands and gold from their fathers and immediately spent it on banquets, horses, and art, thinking these were the signs of greatness. But when the money was gone, so too was their influence. The doors that once opened for them closed swiftly, and the same friends who had praised their extravagance now mocked their ruin. They had bought the illusion of importance, not the means to keep it. The wise ruler invests first in the tools that ensure his continued rise: alliances, influence, and control over the forces that shape markets and laws. For the rich, power is the true currency. A man with political influence can shape the rules in his favor. A man with ownership over distribution channels can dictate what the market consumes. A man with control over vital resources can make others dependent on him. Such a man can lose his gold 100 times and yet recover it, for the machine of wealth remains in his hands. Billionaires today demonstrate this truth with precision. They buy stakes in industries that grant them leverage over competitors, rather than simply buying yachts and mansions. They invest in networks of decision makers, ensuring that when laws are written, they are written with their interests in mind. They acquire companies not for their immediate profit, but for the control they offer over supply chains, technology, or public opinion. Each acquisition is a weapon in their arsenal, aimed not at comfort, but at dominance. This does not mean they live without pleasure. Many own the finest estates, the most exquisite art, the grandest vehicles. But these luxuries come after their position is secure. The palace is built only after the fortress is complete. for they understand that luxury without power is like a crown without an army, a decoration that can be taken away at any moment. Power without luxury, however, can create luxury at will. Consider the difference between the self-made billionaire and the lottery winner. The lottery winner comes into wealth suddenly and spends it quickly on visible status, cars, vacations, indulgences. But he has no hold over the sources of wealth, no grip on the levers of influence. Within a few years, most return to the life they had before. The billionaire, in contrast, treats every new gain as fuel for acquiring more control. Over markets, over talent, over systems. His luxuries are built on a foundation that is not easily shaken. In politics, the principle is the same. A ruler does not spend his treasury on gold-plated halls while his army is weak. He strengthens his forces, secures his alliances, and places loyal men in positions of command. Only when his rule is unshakable does he adorn his city with beauty. This is the order the wealthy follow in their own empires. They buy influence before indulgence, leverage before leisure. The masses often envy the luxury of the rich without understanding that the luxury is a symptom, not the cause, of their wealth. What they do not see are the years spent buying power in forms that are not glamorous. Political favors, industry footholds, controlling interests in quiet but essential enterprises. These investments are invisible to the public but visible to those who matter. And those are the people who will open the gates to even greater fortunes. For the one who holds power does not need to chase luxury. Luxury will always come to him, offered willingly by those who seek his favor. You have now heard the 7 secrets the wealthy guard as jealously as a king guards his throne. They are not the lessons of the marketplace, nor the teachings of the common schools, for those who are built to keep you obedient, not powerful. These are the hidden laws, the strategies that transform a man from a servant of the system into its master. Understand this. Wealth is not the result of chance, and it is not a gift from the heavens. It is constructed, piece by piece, with the precision of an engineer and the ruthlessness of a conqueror. The billionaires you see today are not merely lucky, they are architects of power, skilled in the art of creating value, controlling perception, and bending the world's resources to serve their ends. They move before the crowd, they see what others cannot, and they protect their gains with unbreakable walls. You may choose to dismiss these truths, as the masses always do, and continue along the safe road paved for you by others. Or you may choose to act, to reshape your thinking, to step beyond the illusions of hard work without strategy, to claim not only money but the influence that ensures money will never leave you. The game of wealth is not played in fairness. It is played in foresight, in control, and in the mastery of human nature. And as I, Niccolò Machiavelli, have always told those who seek power, fortune favors the bold, but it bows to the prepared. Now you must decide which one you will be.